And away we go. The DFS Early Bird presented by Awesemo.com, presented in part by Yahoo Sports. Check out their DFS offerings every day over there on Yahoo.com. Dave Lochran, myself, Dan Strafford with you on this Friday morning, getting you ready for a big MLB slate. Dave, we can get this out of the way quickly. A little bit of a basketball game Thursday night. At least there's a game 7, right?
I mean, it's just been a wild series. The Sixers were dominant in Game 6. They got beat by 36 in Game 5. They lost by 13 in Game 1. They won by 21 in Game 3. There have been 4 blowouts. This game, by the way, the score, the benches came in and Toronto's bench scored some points, but when the starters came out, it was a 21-point game again. It's been a wild, wild series. The swings are insane. And Game 7, will Game 7 be a blowout or will Game 7 be competitive? At this point, who the hell knows?
Well, that's a very good point. If you take the games themselves as results and sort of jumble them around and see what you'd predict for Game 7, would you predict a blowout? Whichever team, does the big offensive outburst, but that is an intriguing thought process, and will be interesting to see how Vegas handles it. Where they lay the points and exactly how they handle the development over the past 6 games and how that influences Game 7. But I did get admonished over there on the YouTube comments about spending too much time on non-baseball related things. So I wanted to bring up a movie. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I could. There was a movie I just watched, a Netflix movie, but we can talk about that at a different time. Talk Game of Thrones. We haven't done that here on the podcast. But nonetheless, we'll get into baseball. There's plenty to talk about. We're going to go through pitching. We're going to talk about some of the top stacks that we see at present. Don't forget, you have the MLB strategy show each and every morning, Monday through Saturday. You will get Adam and Josh typically. I don't know. Jake filled in on Thursday morning. Is Jake back on Friday morning as far as you know, Lofty, or is it Josh again with Adam?
No, Jake is on Thursday mornings now.
Oh, that's permanent. Okay.
And Monday mornings with Adam, I believe. Maybe it's when I think one of them. Josh getting some time off on the strategy show.
So Friday morning you will get Josh and Adam on the strategy show. You get Dave and Adam on the deep dive, and then you get Live Before Lock. That's all free over there on YouTube. If you want the behind the paywall content, which you should, that's projections, that's ownership projections, that is Fantasy Cruncher add-on, and that is the deep dive, which Dave will be writing for you on Friday. Use the promo code EARLYBIRD, one word, gets you 50% off your first month, and gets you to be part of the Slack community over at Awesemo.com. Good place to be. Lots of conversation all day long around baseball, basketball still going on as well. And obviously, as it's May, all of a sudden football is around the corner. And so be on board for that as well. So Dave, let's dive in here. We will go through this deep slate of games on DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, and the like as we talk through top plays from the pitching perspective. And then obviously on the other side, which pitchers we're targeting against. 14 games on this main slate, so it is a deep one. And you do have Justin Verlander topping the 11K mark. And I've made mention here on the podcast and not breaking any news here that clearly DraftKings has made a decision to contract the pitcher pool and sort of limit the top-end value, or top-end price point, I should say, and ratchet up the mid-tier price point. So you're really in that 10.5 to, let's say, 8K range. Not a ton of value, not a ton of cheap pitching options other than the dregs of the slate. But we get Verlander here at a high water mark over the past, let's say, 10 days of 11K against Texas in Houston. And you have Luis Castillo in a prime spot against San Francisco at Oracle Park. He's 10.6. And even Glass now in Tampa Bay, pitcher's park, or at least hitter's neutral, is 10.4. So we have 3 pitchers above 10K. We'll start with those 3. Castillo, to me, jumps off the page, stuff-wise, if you want to put that out there. But opponent and park, Verlander clearly has gigantic upside anytime he takes the mound. And Glass now against the Yankee team that does still have some K upside. Who do you like best of those 3?
I mean, Verlander is not in Texas, Minute Maid Parks, more pitcher friendly than it is hitter friendly. If you want to call it neutral, that's fine too. But he's just incredible, and one of the highest floors in the game. When you're talking about a cash play, Verlander stands out as a top option all the time. Castillo at Oracle Park, another really, really favorable park, and a fine matchup for him. He did allow 4 runs against the same team last time out, but that was a great American. He gave up a home run, but struck out 9. Look, Castillo's been excellent this year. He has always had the talent. He's just finally putting it together. But if you're talking cash and you want to pay for one of these guys, Justin Verlander at the top just is your safest bet here. I mean, we'll obviously wait to see what ownership looks like once it's released, and that'll help you make decisions for tournaments. But Verlander at the top is the most sensible in cash. Tyler Glass now. There is the Yankees offense is way better than it was like 5 days ago, right? Frazier back. We have Sanchez, of course, Andujar, Torres obviously has been in there. Like this is a better 1 through 6. It's actually not bad at all, and plenty of power. Now it's a good park, and Glass now is loaded with upside, which I obviously like. This is one of the spots where I would very much be willing to look as a tournament play. So if you're looking at team stats here for the Yankees, just pulling it up, I want to pull their active roster up, but I'm going to go back to the start of last season against lefties, not this season, because so many of them are injured and it doesn't really give us what we need. So if we go back to last season, we can take a look at this. So, okay, Yankees against lefties last year up and this season, but it's the active roster, had I'm pretty sure it was low. It was, why
lefties? It's Glass now starting, right?
Oh, my fault. I was thinking Snell. Okay. I was thinking Snell. Yeah, thanks. Glad you cut that off. Yeah, for some reason I was thinking Blake Snell.
I thought I missed something.
No. I mean, I was saying Glass now. I just got him confused. So yeah, good thing but honestly, they don't strike out that much anyway. Glasnow just has really good stuff, and I mean, you saw it last time out. You saw him against Boston with a brilliant start. Like, people continue to overlook him in tournaments. I had recommended go to Glasnow and that was a slate where there were a lot of high-end pitchers. Like, I'm willing to go to him in tournaments today. I get that it won't pop up in optimals, but he has as high a ceiling really as anybody right now, and that's clearly something that needs to be discussed. So while it's not the greatest matchup, it's not at Yankee Stadium either.
Right, and so you do have the upside there. I assume Castillo stands out just from Oracle Park and matchup, right? And so we have 3 guys here who all have legitimate upside. You made the point about ownership. Does ownership sway you that much here that one stands out if he's single digit comparatively to the other ones?
For Glasnow?
For Verlander, Castillo, and Glasnow, if we're going the top end of the 3.
My guess is Verlander is going to be chalk here. But you also have Zack Wheeler against Miami. So, that's something that should probably be considered. Like, Miami has just given up monster game after monster game to pitchers. And if you want an idea of that, you just look at a guy in Kyle Hendricks. Like, this guy is not a high upside pitcher. And he went out there, 8 innings, which is what you were hoping for from him. Wheeler is the type of guy that can do that. He's very good at working deep into games, but he also has more strikeout upside than Hendricks. So with Wheeler, I could see him going 8 innings with, 9 strikeouts in this one, and I wouldn't be surprised, right? He's striking out 26% of batters on the season. He's got a swinging strike rate of over 10%. That's all you need in a start like this. Yes, he's going to cost you, but I do think this is a spot that's well worth paying a premium for on Wheeler. He's looked better lately, and I think against Miami, they really are a AAA baseball team.
Yep. I think Wheeler is the name that most will hone in on. You talk ownership. I think it's going to be fairly high on Wheeler. I would assume it will be at least.
Verlander will be too, though. He always is.
Yep. I don't disagree there. I would assume either one or the other is your SP1. Then you're trying to find an SP2 in this mix. Herman is 9,500. He's been great, but that is a very elevated price point. Kenta Maeda against the Washington Nationals, 9,200. Herman Marquez is home. So that's going to continue to be a thing for me, where at home, yeah, I see some upside, but that price point just keeps me away from him. And then you deal with Arrieta, Rodriguez, Odorizzi, Julio Teheran, Pablo Lopez. All of these names have some strikeout upside. They have some good matchups, but there's no one I'm really comfortable with in here. Sub 10K outside of Zack Wheeler. Who stands out to you?
So, I mean, temperatures aren't always going to work in your favor, but it was 39 degrees at Coors the past couple of days, 40 degrees. It was snowing. If Herman Marquez was in a spot like that, I'd be much more willing. The temperatures have come up a bit, 57 degrees. I think the biggest thing is you don't need to pay for him here at Coors. If the matchup was baked into his price point or the park, and he was like 8,100, I would certainly be willing to entertain it, because I think he's a phenomenal pitcher. Probably not going to get there. And then Domingo Germán for the Yankees. This is another spot where it's going to be tough to get to a guy like Germán unless you're just trying to go off the reservation and be very different than everyone because Wheeler's going to be chalk. Then you're going to have a tough time getting to him as well. Actually, I think Kenta Maeda is an interesting one. His price is down. He has not looked great, but I do think if he's cruising, Roberts will give him an opportunity to throw plenty of pitches. He threw 106 pitches in his first outing. He's just labored through a bunch of them. The one against San Francisco, where he threw only 73 pitches in 5 innings, I believe he was pinch hit for. I could be wrong, but I believe he was pinch hit for. I like him here against Washington. It's a Washington team that's dealing with a ton of injuries right now. There are strikeouts in this lineup, especially given the amount of players that are hurt and replaced by higher K bats. So to me, it's a pretty interesting spot. Of course, Miami has the lowest total on the slate at 3 against Wheeler. Texas at 3-1 against Verlander. And then there you have Washington at 3.3 against Kenta Maeda. They've been getting super low totals lately. I mean, very low totals against good pitchers, bad pitchers, decent pitchers. So it's well worth talking about. I think Maeda is actually one of my, at least right now, it's still very early, but probably outside of Wheeler, my favorite 9K guy here over Marquez. I mean, Marquez against San Diego, I do still like the K upside. He's got a filthy slider, a high 90s fastball. There are strikeouts in this San Diego lineup. So I'm not avoiding this altogether. I'll tell you that right now. I wish he was cheaper, but I definitely do not think this is a total stay away spot for Marquez. I don't. But yeah, the Nationals striking out at the 5th highest clip against righties this season, 25.3%. Padres 3rd highest at 26.3%. Both of them give a bunch of upside to the opposing pitcher. So that's who I'm at the 9K and up range.
Yeah, we'll even go a step further with those Nats numbers in 25.3, just 7.7% walk ratio for their active roster against righties. Then you throw in a 138 ISO. So it's not like that they have high power upside and they're striking out a lot. They're striking out a lot and their power is middling, if not below middling, against right-handed pitchers. So not a ton of damage to project, at least, against Kenta Maeda here. You always have to deal with, as Dave was saying, Dave Roberts and pinch hitting and all the different things that can come to pass in a National League game. But Maeda does stand out a bit and may be a bit of a pivot off of Zack Wheeler, as Wheeler's at $9,700. I guess $500 is enough to say maybe not a pivot, but in that range, somebody who may go much lesser owned and could have some similar upside. As Dave said, though, a quad A lineup. I'll give them a step up. A quad A lineup for the Miami Marlins. Maybe not AAA, but they're trying. They're doing their best. They're getting a participation trophy. It's fine.
No, we don't believe in participation trophies here on the Early Bird.
We go next to below 9K, and this is where it gets dicey. And obviously, this is where the butter, the bread is buttered, or whatever, the money is made, whatever the hell you want to say. There's some upside guys in here. I guess the name that stands out the most to me is Trevor Cahill at 7,100 against Baltimore because of the opponent. I don't love the park. I don't love the pitcher, but at least we've seen Cahill in the past give us some upside. The last four starts haven't been the case, but has been somebody that at least I know can do it. Who do you like in this sub 9K? Awful sledding, but who do you like sub 9K at this point?
This guy's a little expensive, but at least mention him. I want to pull his price up on Yahoo to see if we get a discount. Let's see, 38, not bad. Jake Odorizzi, ever since Odorizzi, kind of ridded himself of those reverse splits that really plagued him, changing up the pitch mix and making it so that he wasn't going to struggle as much against righties. He has been a better pitcher, right? Like he absolutely has. Throwing the curveball more, throwing the look, the biggest thing with Odorizzi is that he was throwing a curveball like not at all, and now actually throws one.
Right.
So you look at his rates against righties. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull him up here because I don't remember them off the top of my head. He's using the curveball 15% of the time, the slider 21% of the time, and then he has the splitter that he's using as well. He has more offerings than he did before, and not all of his off-speed stuff is great, but on the season, he's getting a decent amount of strikeouts. He's had a couple bad starts, but he's also had some big ones. And that slider is getting a ton of swings and misses. What I find incredible, and this was really surprising to me. It should be surprising. Jake Odorizzi, if I had to guess, his four-seamer has one of the highest whiff per swing rates in the entire league. It's at 35%. 16% whiff rate on the fastball is on the four-seamer is a really high mark, and he's coming into games putting up big numbers. 8Ks, 7Ks, 6Ks, 11Ks, and he just 2-hit the Yankees across 6 innings and then 4 hits across 7 against Houston. Dude, Odorizzi's been decent. I think he's a little bit overpriced, but if you can get him at a good price like you can on Yahoo, I don't think that's a bad SP2 option whatsoever, because you start getting into this territory where you're talking about, an overpriced Pablo Lopez, an overpriced Julio Turan, an overpriced, I don't know why he's that expensive, Eric Swanson, Trevor Williams, Clay Buchholz. I don't buy into Clay Buchholz, and we're seeing a ton of struggling early on. Wainwright, I have no interest in against a Pittsburgh team that doesn't strike out. No thank you on Anibal Sanchez. Lance Lynn against a team that literally never, well, not literally, but as close to literally never strikes out. And then you did mention Cahill. Maybe he can get off the schneid here, but God, it has just been a brutal stretch of games for him. And you pull the game log up, you take a look at, what's going on with Trevor Cahill. His swinging strike rate, 4% last game, 9%, 7%, 8%. He did have one of 14.7% against Seattle where he got 5 Ks. But aside from that, Cahill just simply cannot miss bats. And it's a little bit troublesome when you're talking about a guy who gets a good matchup. But I can't help but wonder if something's wrong with him right now. I really don't know if something's up with him. His velocity seems to be fine, but the results have been really, really bad, particularly his inability to get swings over pitches.
I will admit that Odorizzi's numbers stand out a bit on the year. If you are into StatCast data with xWOBA and X slugging and X batting out, whatever expected, all of his numbers are pretty much in line with the results. And so he may be somebody I need to take into more consideration on this slate as a potential SB2 if I'm paying up I guess I have to pay up at SB2. That's just why DraftKings is making it work. And to point out, Baltimore's not been as bad against righties as I've thought. The K percentage is 20th overall on the year for their active roster.
They're not striking out a ton.
And the power is not terrible. It's 164 ISO. They have a 92 WRC plus. Again, that's not great, but it at least is viable. What's their WOBA of 308? They're middling again. So Cahill's poor results plus the Orioles not being as bad as even I thought to start the podcast numbers wise probably takes Cahill out of the mix here as an option for me. But is there at least a dart throw on the really, really cheap end as you went through all these names, or is this again a slate that you're going to be for MMEers? You're going to be heavy on some of the top ends and mix and match on the bottom end, single entry folks. You probably are paying up a pitching, right?
Yeah. By the way, I just looked it up on Baseball Reference or Baseball Prospectus. I was right. Jay Odorizzi has the highest whiff per swing rate among all righties on the four-seam fastball this year.
At 34.9 or 35%?
35.1. Yeah. I mean, Ponce de Leon and Clevenger are ahead of him, but they haven't really pitched much.
Clevenger has like a broken back, doesn't he? Is that
what's that?
Is that Clevenger has a broken back or something?
Yeah,
doesn't it?
Right. Yeah. So it doesn't really count. Among actually lefties and righties, Odorizzi is leading the entire league. I mean, that pitch, man, that's getting a crazy amount of swings and misses. You don't see. I mean, he always got a decent amount on it. 11.
I wonder what that is. I mean, the spin rate's not crazy.
He's always gotten like 11-12% whiffs on it, which is good for a fastball, mm-hmm. Right? But it's definitely I don't know. It may just be that he has that it's harder to guess what he's throwing now. I don't know. Anything's possible. What about his vertical movement on it? Does he have more right? And you have the perceived velocity you can look into,
right?
And all that stuff. But this will be something that we would need more time to dig into. But with all the data available to us, we could certainly figure it out. I might have some temptation to, if you're MMEing, like Homer Bailey would probably be the guy, honestly. I mean, the Phillies are just the Phillies go out there and they'll drop a ton of runs. It's been like this Toronto Phillies series, to be honest with you. Like the Sixers, or you could use Toronto. They'll go out there, they'll win by 36, and then they'll come out completely flat, can't hit a shot, and lose by 20. The Phillies have done a lot of that this year. They have gone completely cold at times. And when they go cold, they're just quiet across the board. There are enough strikeouts. I'm not going to make the argument that it's a super high strikeout matchup. It's middle of the league. They literally are right in the middle of the league. They're 16th. But Homer Bailey, while he will certainly have blow-up outings, he actually does have some upside. And I think people forget about that. He is, one of the most boom or bust, black or white pitchers in baseball. But, he's got an 8K game this year. He's got a 7K game. He has 6+ strikeouts in 4 of his 7 starts, to be exact. And he will give up some runs at times. But I'm willing to run him out there in some spots because you're going to want to stack some hitters here. There are a lot of bad pitchers on this slate as well. And Homer Bailey, while there are so many bad things that come with Homer Bailey, this is a guy who actually can't. So the splitter this season is getting 23% whiffs, and he's throwing it 25% of the time. He can miss bats. It's just, will he get crushed? Will his fastball get hammered? And if it does, well, on to the next one.
I will throw Derek Rodriguez if he is starting into the mix simply because of the park. If that's a 6.5, 7.5 over under, I'll take a flyer on a guy who's 6,300 on DraftKings. Would not pitch him on a single pitcher site. I will make that abundantly clear, but I will not keep him out of my roster construction simply because of his struggles over his career. I think there's some upside here. For Rodriguez against Cincinnati. They're, again, I've used the word middling probably a little bit too much, but I'm pretty sure, they're 22.8% K percentage. That's 13th overall against righties on the year. an ISO of 182. That's up there a bit, but 79 WRC plus. I think there's enough here to at least keep Rodriguez in my player pool as we get ready for this slate. You made mention there are some bad pitchers here. You talked about one. I just did as well. From a stack against top bats perspective, as we think through and try to figure out where we're leaning this early on, what do you got? Who are the pitchers that you're most intrigued to stack against?
So, like I said, there are some rough pitchers on this slate. Your highest totals right now, you have two teams at 6. Boston against Swanson. The Angels against Dan Straley. That to me seems a bit strange. I get it. Ohtani's back, but I'm still not sold. Now, to be fair, I love this spot against Dan Straley. It just seems like it seems like a high total for the Angels. I mean, I absolutely love it. And because Ohtani's back, I love it even more. There's no question. But 6, seems like they could maybe get that at Coors, but what are you going to do? They scored like 100 runs yesterday, so who am I to speak? The Angels, I really do like them a lot. Of course, Colorado against Eric Lauer here. You just, if a lefty's on the mound, you go straight to Arenado. You go straight to Trevor Story, and you don't really have to think twice about it. They are that good at home against lefties. And even guys with the catcher position being so terrible, guys like Iannetta, although his price has come up, Ian Desmond is at least cheap. So this stack makes for a pretty easy one to configure. Minnesota against Tyson Ross. He has really struggled. And Philly against Homer Bailey. Listen, like I said, Homer Bailey is cheap enough. He's the cheapest pitcher on the entire slate. It's not insane. Hellickson has thrown 2 gems against the Phillies this year. Anything can happen. And in baseball, more so than any other sport. But it's not to say I don't love the Phillies here because they offer a lot of power, and he gives up power to hitters from both sides of the plate. This is just a jam-packed hitter slate. You have good pitchers, though. Wheeler, Verlander, Maeda, Castillo, Glasnow, Odorizzi, Greinke. I really don't have much intention of picking on them. But once you come up the list a little, same with even Marquez. Sure, you can stack San Diego, but you're not going to love them, or Tampa against Herman. But once you get it, or Kansas City against Arrieta, although good base stealing matchup. Once you get up a little bit, though, it opens wide up. Dodgers against Anibal Sanchez would be another one in here. Houston against Lance Lynn. Toronto against Dylan Covey. There's a lot.
Yeah, Covey's the sort of name here that is. I agree to stack against them, but the Blue Jays strike out a ton. And not that I think Dylan Covey's in any way good, but I don't know that there's a ton of upside for them. Do you have their implied total in front of you? I would assume it's...
Yeah, it's 4.9.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm sorry, 5.1.
Is it really? Okay.
I mean, Covey's pretty bad.
He is pretty bad. So if
it was Giolito, I would play Giolito,
sure.
Honestly.
Emery, I think even, you have some upside there for Lopez and as much as he can implode. But I think that Dave covered off on a large majority of it. If you had to pick 1 or 2 bats, let's take a quick peek here at hitters overall, top price points. You have Cody Bellinger at 5,900 against Anibal Sanchez, Springer against Lynn, Blackmon against Lauer. And I'm a huge fan of playing Charlie Blackmon against lefties because his ownership percentage goes down, but his numbers have always been solid against left-handed pitchers, especially at Coors Field. And then Trout, Jorge Polanco's at 5.7. Wow, there are a lot of batters over 5,500. This is amazing. Let's say 5,500 and above. So Merrifield on up to Bellinger. Who's your favorite single one-off play of all of these bats as you look through? It's Bellinger, Springer, Blackmon, Trout, Polanco, Arenado, Brantley, Story, Hoskins, Adalberto Mondesi, and Whit Merrifield.
Yeah, you can't really do it for baseball.
I know. We're trying something new.
Basketball would be, like a lot of times there's that guy, but all right.
Arenado would be
crazy expensive. No, really though. Trout against Straley, Arenado against Eric Lauer, Story against Lauer, Hoskins against Bailey. Can I say all of them? Probably don't want to pay that much for Brant, but Brantley's been so good as well. No, honestly, like one-offing these guys if you can, like one-offing an Arenado or a Trout in certain stacks is great, but I mean, this feels like a night where you load up on 5-team stacks and 4 and 4s, and if you add the 5 and 2-1, get the top tier one-off in there. But with some of the on a bigger slate, you want to stack more because look at the run totals here. One or two of these teams is bound to just go off.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. Do we have? Is he not? Oh, there he is. Hold on one second. I did not talk about him, and I apologize if. Well, all right. So that that's why I didn't. I just pulled up FanDuel. Who's starting for Oakland? Is it Montes or is it Brooks? I just wanted to double check this because Frankie Montes is actually somebody who I find remotely intriguing in this matchup.
Frankie Montes is starting.
Is he? That's just a name to
from
point
what
out.
From what I saw, yeah.
DK has Brooks listed, so I don't think they're going with any sort of change here. Just scrolling through to Oakland. Montes against the Indians' offense has been bad, and I know they've gotten healthy, and I know Lindor, and I know all of those things. But Montes is somebody I think at very low ownership that I think could have a bit of upside here. I'm going to look into that a little bit more. Didn't realize he was on this slate. Saw Brooks listed on DK and sort of ignored the rest. But that is where we will leave it. You find Dave over on Twitter at Lofty_D, LOUGHY_D. Find me at Dan Strafford. Of course, find Osmo, the website, at Osmo_com, and you can get a subscription by using the promo code EARLYBIRD. That gets you 50% off your first month. Then you can add on Fantasy Cruncher Pro, all of those different things behind the paywall. Then you get the deep dive from Dave. The deeper dives at 5 p.m. That's Dave and Adam. Then you get Live Before Lock. Also, the MLB strategy show happens in the morning right over there on YouTube. Don't forget this video. Like, subscribe, do all those great things. Leave us comments. Always happy to read them here on the show. With that said, best of luck on Friday slate. Tomorrow morning, get Emac and Adam right here on the DFS Early Bird presented by Osmo.com.